all, even though I'm actually just talking to my phone, so this is a little bit weird. I left Arnold sixth form 10 years ago and went on to study English literature at the University of Sheffield, which is one of the best decisions I ever made, and I'm feeling really old now. I'm looking back at how long ago that was. So since then, I did a journalism postgrad, and a few jobs later, I am now the Deputy Chief Sub-Editor at Elle magazine in London. So that involves a lot of editing, as you may expect from the title. I edit all the copy that goes in the magazine. I proofread it before it goes to the printers and sign it off. I write features for print and online. I help suggest talent and features that could go in the magazine. I set people to deadlines. I chase them when they're late. It's busy and stressful and hard and fun and creative and rewarding, and no day is ever the same in the magazine industry, and so it's definitely the best job I've ever had, and I feel very, very lucky to be there. And I think at Elle, a lot of what we do is about empowering our readers, who are mainly women, and we do that by profiling amazing women who've achieved incredible things. We help to inform our readers by doing features on topics that we feel really passionately about, and we encourage them to speak up, to use their voice, to find their voice and use it for good. And I think that is probably why I've been asked to speak to you today, in honour of International Women's Day, because to me that's a huge part of what this day is about. I feel like International Women's Day exists because, yes, there are still huge inequalities within our society, and there is so much work we have to do, and so many ways in which we have to be better. And so this is that poignant annual reminder that that work still needs to be done. But on the flip side, I think International Women's Day is a great excuse for celebration. It's about women coming together in honour of a shared cause. It's about creating a platform and empowering women to stand up and speak for themselves. And I just feel like it's a great opportunity of celebration, to look back on how far we've come, how much we've achieved, and encouraging everyone to keep that change going. And when it comes to using your voice, that is obviously the most important part of it. But I don't know about you, but for me, it hasn't always felt that easy to use mine. I think for a long time, I'd kind of forgotten it was even there. I've been working on a feature for Elle recently, and it's about the greatest speeches women have made throughout history. And as I've sat watching them and reading them and researching them, I keep thinking to myself, like, how are they doing it? Like, are they superheroes? They are so eloquent and smart and persuasive and powerful. And when I was thinking about what I'd say to you today, I just thought, what's the point? I look at Michelle Obama and Emmeline Pankhurst and Gloria Steinem and Maya Angelou, and I just thought, I can't speak like them. What can I say that's of added value? And then I sat back, I did some more research, I finished my article, and I realised that as wonderful and as powerful and as media trained as these women are, or the modern ones anyway, they aren't superheroes. Yes, they're amazing, but they're just normal women. And what they're doing it's brave and it's fantastic, but at the end of the day, they're just speaking words. They're voicing their opinions, and words are the one thing I can talk to you about. I know a lot about words. I spend my day working with words. I'm surrounded by them. I'm reading them, editing them, writing them, thinking them, speaking them. My life is honestly just a study of words, basically. And what I've learned over the years is that words are the key to power. Actions can do a lot, but I feel that words can do a lot more. I mean, if you look at history, they've had the ability to create and change emotions and environments and societies, and that is why it's so important to choose your words carefully. Because every comment you make, whether it's on social media, whether it's, I don't know, a video you're making for somebody, a conversation you're having in real life, something you've written down, it holds a meaning and it represents who you are, and it has power. But don't let that intimidate you. Like, that, it's the truth. But at the end of the day, we all speak every day. We all have words. We all know how to converse. But I think it's different when you're speaking out against something than when you're speaking to someone. And when you're trying to speak up and out about things you believe in, whether it's a cause, whether it's some injustice, whether it's yourself that you're trying to believe in, it's really hard, and especially if you're trying to do that on your own and that you don't have any support. And for me personally, not speaking up for myself almost cost me my career. Normally, you might be able to tell, but I'm the loudest person in the room. I have a big mouth, I have a lot of things to say, and that's just my personality. I'm quite outspoken. But after years of education and working so hard to get a job in magazine journalism, I finally got there. I got this amazing first job at this company called matchesfashion.com on their magazine, and I just went quiet. Everyone at work thought I was really shy, that I was just like this cute little girl who like didn't say a lot, but like sat down and did her work, and I just couldn't have been less of myself. And I feel like I was that way because I was intimidated. I had entered the fashion industry, which is unlike anything I'd ever experienced before, and met these amazing, glamorous, intelligent, well-connected women who had worked at American Vogue and British Vogue and Elle and all of these amazing places, and I just didn't feel like I matched up, and I just felt like I was so different. And so instead of trying to stand out, I tried to blend in, and I made myself smaller and I made myself quieter because I thought it's better to not stand out at all than stand out for the wrong reasons. And as I'm sure you can guess, that was the wrong choice. I missed out on so many opportunities. There were meetings where I didn't put my ideas forward, so obviously they didn't get picked, but then someone pitched something similar and everyone loved it. And there were job opportunities I could have put myself forward for that I knew I could do, but I wasn't confident enough in myself, so I didn't. So my career just stayed the same, and everyone else got promoted and more exposure and got more successful, and I was just me. And it took a long time for that to change. It was really gradual, and I think that was only down to the support of other women I work with. So don't believe what the movies tell you about women in fashion. There are some horrors, but there are a lot of wonderful, amazing, kind, supporting people who have changed my career and have in turn changed my life. And so when I left that fashion brand after 2.5 years, I ended up going into consumer magazines, which was my forever dream, and I worked for Glamour magazine. And there I met the then editor Jo Elvin, who is the perfect example of a woman who speaks her mind, and it's led to great success. She's now the editor of You magazine. Look her up, she's phenomenal. And she is one of the smartest, funniest, most talented women I've ever met, but she's also so blunt. Like, if she doesn't like something, she will tell you. If she wants to do something, she does it. And I believe that her belief in herself and her ability to speak up is what has led to Glamour was the most successful women's magazine in the UK under her leadership. And on a personal level, her belief in me when I worked for her completely changed my career. She gave me the confidence in myself to do better, and as a result my career did better. And I don't think that was a coincidence. They are very intrinsically linked. And so there I was. The confidence had been built up a little bit. I'd been promoted, I'd had more opportunities, more experiences, and I found myself back in the fashion world at Elle magazine. And that had been a forever dream for me. I'd always wanted to work at Elle, I'd always wanted to work at Glamour, so I ticked those two off my list. I was 26 and I was pretty proud of myself. But I still didn't feel like I really fitted in. I was back in that fashion sphere with these incredible women who just seemed so much better at everything than I was. And so even though I had more confidence, I had to keep fighting off those moments of inferiority. But again, the help of some brilliant women helped to change all of that. Last summer, as you all know, the world changed forever in my opinion. George Floyd was murdered and the Black Lives Matter movement took on this whole new sense of urgency. And as a journalist, I watched over that weekend and the weeks that ensued all of this coverage from every magazine and newspaper and news outlet and TV station that I could think of. And especially that first weekend, what I noticed was that Elle had been silent. We hadn't said anything. And not saying anything also speaks volumes in the wrong way. And I could see on social media people were saying, oh, do you not have a stance on this, Elle? Do you not believe Black Lives Matter? And it just wasn't good, and it didn't sit right with me. And so it got to the Monday morning and I got on the phone to our features director, Hannah Nathanson, another wonderful woman, and I said, why aren't we doing anything? Why aren't we saying anything? And she said something to me that completely changed my outlook. And she just said, well, Liv, why don't you say something? And I was just a bit floored because I'd spent days waiting for one of my colleagues, to use the platform we have at Elle to speak out about a cause that all of us at the magazine I knew truly believed in. And it didn't once occur to me that that person could have been me. I didn't even, my head just didn't even think about it. I didn't consider it whatsoever. And it was Hannah's encouragement to write something so bold and with such emotion, with such belief in me to do that, that reminded me that my opinions were valid and, most importantly, that my opinions mattered. And so I spoke out and I wrote down all of my feelings and all of my emotions, and I got them onto paper and I put them out into the world. And surprisingly, the world, and by the world I mean our readership, they spoke back to me, and my inbox was flooded with these emails and these messages of people saying that by sharing my opinion, it inspired them to share their opinions, and it inspired conversations with their friends about the topic and how much it had affected them in a positive way. And it was really a really overwhelming thing to experience. And I'm, just for the record, I'm not saying I'm some big hotshot journalist who wrote an article and changed the world, because I haven't. I didn't do that. And I know that a lot of the reaction to my article was down to the fact that it was published on a globally recognised platform, and I had amazing editors on hand to edit my work once it had been done and make it better. But what that experience did show me was that our opinions matter, and when we share them, it can create change. It doesn't have to be this big presidential speech that changes the world, but I always think as a journalist, if I can influence one person's opinion with something I've written, or if I can make them stop and think about something and look at something from a new angle, then I've done my job. And that's what I did there. And that is what I want to share with you. So I saw a quote on Instagram recently, where I find all my quotes these days, and it was one by the great American novelist Toni Morrison, who you should definitely read if you've not read her stuff before. And she said, I'm going to read it so I don't get it wrong. I tell my students, when you get these jobs that you have been so brilliantly trained for, just remember that your real job is that if you are free, you need to free somebody else. If you have some power, then your job is to empower somebody else. So this quote stuck with me for a number of reasons. First of all, I wanted to mention it today because I think it's a really great response to that annoying question that I often hear of, why do we have an International Women's Day? There's no International Men's Day, it's not fair, blah, blah, blah. And, what it shows me is that change is progressive. If one person makes it, if one person breaks a boundary or achieves something beyond their wildest dreams, beyond anyone's wildest dreams, it's their job to then help someone else achieve the same. Success is not success if you're just doing it alone. You have to help people up after you. And I think that's kind of what International Women's Day represents. We've come so far in this fight for equality, but like I said before, there's still so much we have to do. And there's no end point to change. It keeps growing and transforming and evolving into something that is hopefully bigger and better than we've ever expected it to be. So we don't know what International Women's Day will look like in 10 years or 20 years or 50 years, but I'm sure on those days there will be even more achievements for us to celebrate, and hopefully there'll be things propelled by the work that we're all doing today and that we will do in the future. And secondly, that quote, it also kind of made me think back on my own career, of how I've been helped through it by some amazing women, and why it's only right that I do the same for women coming after me. And really, at the end of the day, my insecurities at work stem from the fact that I was different. I'm not your average magazine girl, I'm northern. People think that the fact I'm from Blackpool is great. They're like, oh, did you grow up on the pier? Anyway, and I don't look like magazine girls. I don't look like I should be on the cover of Tatler. I don't have long blonde hair. I didn't spend years interning for free, which is something that I don't think anyone should ever do. And I think that, yes, I got my job through a lot of hard work, and that is undoubtable, but also there was luck involved. I was in the right place at the right time, and someone took a chance on me when there was probably a far more obvious candidate they could have picked. And for that, I am truly lucky. But in my head, jobs should never be about luck. A career that you've wanted since you were 14 should never feel so out of reach, especially when it's just a normal job in a normal office, which at the end of the day is what my job is. And so that's why at Elle we're doing a lot of work around this right now. My editor-in-chief, Farah Storr, another amazing woman that I'm mentioning today, she is a fellow Northerner, and she's on the government's Social Mobility Commission, which is a board that helps to create equal opportunities across the UK, regardless of your background, where you're from, your experiences in life. And as a result of that, we launched a mentorship scheme that's focused on giving people from outside of London, in the typically cold spots of the UK, a better chance at getting into the media. It gives them access to the creative industries that they maybe otherwise wouldn't have had. So over the past year, we worked with some amazing young women from Blackpool, Sunderland, Norwich. There was a couple from London, I think, Yorkshire, Scotland. There was a great range of backgrounds and experiences in these women, and we got to let them into the magazine and they shared their thoughts on it with us and we shared our experiences with them. And there is real power in bringing together a mix of minds and experiences and cultures and backgrounds, because at the end of the day, right now in the media, there is a perpetual cycle of the same people working in media year after year. And that's a problem, because when you're creating content, whether it's a video or a photo shoot or a magazine article, you work with your own experiences. And if everyone in the industry has the same experiences, you get the same kind of content again and again. And it just keeps going and going. And that's what happened for so long. And so now it's still not perfect, but it's getting better. And more of us from the non-typical magazine backgrounds are making their way into the industry, and we're able to share our opinions and share our thoughts and share our lives. And as a result, you get a much better representation of society, and you get a much better, more well-rounded set of opinions. And as a result, I think you get a better magazine. And so to me, there's a place for everyone in creative careers, and to me it's a necessity that we have them and that we have more diversity in the career industry than ever before. Because years later I've realised that what I always thought was my downfall, which was my difference, is actually an asset. Not having the same life experiences as other people means I bring something new to the table. And it's eventually what led to me being successful in my career. If I continued to be small and I continued not to speak out, then I probably would still be in that lowest position job, never changing. But it was by being different that I managed to stand out, and I managed to keep progressing. And so it's taken me a good 5 years to get there, which doesn't sound long, but also that's 4 years of me basically wasting my time until I got to a point where I felt truly confident. And so I just wanted to pass this advice on to you now, so that you don't waste that amount of time. You're young, you're in education, you're about to start your careers. So when you go into them, don't be afraid to speak your mind, especially when you feel like something isn't right. And always, always, always trust your gut, because usually it's right. And if you make a mistake, that's fine. I make mistakes all the time, but you learn from them and you move on. And I feel being comfortable in yourself now, the younger you are, when you go into your, I don't know what you want to do next, further education, into careers, no matter what you do, the more comfortable you are in yourself, the more authentic you will be, and the better you will be at your job. And you and everyone around you will definitely reap the benefits of it. So yeah, I hope that was useful. Thank you so much for having me. Hi everyone. So you guys have submitted some really great questions for me to answer. They are quite tricky and very well thought out, and I am so impressed, because I would never have even had the ability to ask a question like that when I was at school. So well done to you all. It's a little weird to be answering questions rather than asking them as I do in my job, so I'm going to give it my best shot. Let's see how this goes. I think in my case things were a little bit different actually, because when I started out in my job I was quiet because I was intimidated by outspoken women. I have always worked and been very privileged to work in these spaces where women are dominant. In women's magazines there are so few men. I mean, there's one man on the Elle team. There was 2 men when I worked at Glamour. Before that I worked in a team of about 40 people, and I think there were 3, maybe 4 men. So I am used to being in these situations where women have all the top positions and women make the calls. And I think that is what drew me out of my shell, is that I think I went into this environment, I was like, oh my gosh, I've never been in a scenario with so many women doing such amazing things, that I just felt inadequate. And it was only through kind of being brought into that space and being encouraged by them to have confidence in myself and to speak up for myself that I ended up growing and progressing. And I do worry that if I hadn't worked in that kind of environment, would I have continued to have stayed quiet because of these terribly pejorative portrayals of outspoken women? Because usually people are like, oh, she's really outspoken, and what they mean is she seems really angry, or she's really bitter, or, you know, she doesn't really have anything to say, she's just complaining. And it's just so not true. So in my head, the only way we can challenge these false connotations is by reinventing them, is by creating spaces in which we can speak and just being the examples that that idea is wrong, so that when we speak we actually have things of note to say, that we are well informed, that we are smart with our words, that we are articulate, and that we don't make a point just to make a point. We make a point because we have something to say and we want to do something about it. And so it's really sad that I think we have to do all the work when we're the ones kind of being discriminated against in that sense, but we'll have to do it. I think we all know that already, and I think, yeah, it's up to us to just be the example and to prove people wrong with our actions and with our words. I think that's slowly how things begin to change. It's things that I've seen even in my own friendship groups, is that when guys have tried to, be dominant and mansplain over things, you have to be like, no, I have something to say, I was speaking, this is what I think. And once you make your point clear, they have no reason to not accept it. If you're right, you're right. And if you can back up what you're saying with strong opinions and with facts, people can't deny you then. So yeah, I just think stand up for yourself, and I think don't be afraid to call something out if you see it. And yeah, you just kind of have to be the change. And I wish it wasn't that way, but sadly it is. But it does work. If you stand up for yourself, you only have to do it once, because they don't forget, and all of a sudden you'll notice a shift in behaviours. So yeah, I'm very lucky to work in this big female dominated environment, but I think that the things I've learned from being in that are things I could take into other situations and definitely kind of readdress the balance and be the outspoken woman that I am now. Okay, I have two answers to this. One is a personal one and one is a celebrity, because everyone loves a well-known name. First is the personal one, and when I did my Arnold entrance exam, we got asked this question, and when I got in, the school wrote to my mum, because they said, in this question everyone else wrote about celebrities and your daughter wrote about you. And so just a pat on my back for good daughter there. But honestly, it didn't occur to me to write about anyone else, because to me my mother is the most inspirational woman I will ever meet. She's not had the easiest life, and she raised me on her own with my grandparents. She is the smartest, funniest, most hardworking person I've ever met, and she just set this great example of how to be a brilliant mother and have a career and have a life. And she really has always just supported me in whatever I did, and she has taught me the best lesson I've ever learned, so I'm going to pass that on to you, and it is kill them with kindness. And so I think just being kind throughout, I think being known as a good person in whatever you do in life, I always think gets you further than being mean just to get to the top. So that is what my mum taught me, and she's the best person in the world. And my celebrity answer is, as I'm sure a lot of people may say and roll their eyes at, Beyonce, because to me she is the greatest superstar in the world. But what I love about Beyonce, amongst many, many other things, is that she does a lot of things that she kind of puts out there. She's obviously super talented. She's a singer, she's a dancer, she acts, she performs, she's won all these awards, but there's also a side to her life that she doesn't talk about. She doesn't talk a lot about all the charity work she does. She doesn't talk about her family that much, and she has this whole life that she kind of does so much good in. She's raising a family with a lot of nannies, I'm sure, and she has helped so many people, and she's given so much money during COVID. Even she's done so much to help people, and she doesn't ask for praise for that. And that is a really good lesson to learn as well, is that you don't need other people's validation to reward you for doing good work. And I think sometimes there is so much, obviously shout about your achievements and celebrate them, that is so important, but you don't need to shout about every little thing. Some things you can just keep to yourself and do good things because you want to do them, not because you want someone to praise you for them. And also she's just really great, isn't she? So yeah, my mum and Beyonce. My mum's going to love the fact that I've put her on an equal pedestal. My mum's a little bit higher, but yeah. And I just think it's imperative. I think that is the most important thing in the world. I said I was doing this article for Elle about the best speeches that women have made recently, and I did one. Gina Martin, she's the woman who made upskirting illegal. She did a TED talk, and I think everyone should watch it. It's absolutely fantastic, and she talks about misogyny and the power of like individual action, and how like if she could change the law, so could you. And I'm going to read you the quote so I don't get it wrong again. And she said this amazing thing that I think answered this question perfectly. She said, "Communities that are oppressed should not be left to dismantle the thing that's been built against them." And that, I think, sums it up, is that in the fight for, you know, gender equality, racial equality, anything in life really, if it's left to the people who are being oppressed, nothing's going to change. To really change, the people in power have to want to change with you. So in terms of gender equality, if women don't have the support of men, how is society going to change when men are the ones in power? In terms of racial equality, if white people don't support people of colour, how are things going to change when white people tend to have the privileges in most areas of life? So I think being an ally and supporting a cause and actually working towards it when it's nothing to do with you is the most important thing in the world, because at the end of the day, that is what will make the society you live in a better place. So even if it doesn't directly affect you right now and you don't think that it's something that should involve you, it does, because it affects the world that you live in. And eventually in like 10, 20 years time, when you and say your children are, you know, like living in this world, what kind of world do you want it to be? Do you want it to be a world where there's still inequality? No. So I think regardless of whether it directly affects you or not, being an ally and supporting a cause, even if it has nothing to do with you, is so important, because it also, how it makes the people feel who are being oppressed is just phenomenal. And that support is so needed, because when you're trying to fight for equality, it's so emotionally draining as well. So just to know that you have other people on your side fighting it with you is so important. I guess I kind of answered this a little bit in question one, but you have to just do it anyway. Like, I think obviously be smart and gauge a situation, and don't ever put yourself in a situation that will, you know, be really detrimental to you or put you in any kind of danger or anything like that. But it's all about finding confidence and believing in what you have to say. I think educate yourself on a topic so that when you speak, what you say, you can be sure is right and people can't question you. There is nothing worse than starting an argument and then halfway through realising that actually you're kind of wrong and you have to backtrack. And I just think that, isn't it better to be judged for what you say, but what you say be right, by someone that probably doesn't mean that much to you, than to sit back and let injustice happen and be quiet? I think not saying anything speaks volumes, and not saying anything is almost worse than saying something and then getting a bit of pushback for it. Because at the end of the day, say it's your friends and you're speaking to them about something and you disagree. If they judge you for that, then they're not really your friends, are they? If they're your colleagues at work, for example, or your schoolmates, and they say that to you, like if they say something you don't agree with and you push back on them, those are places of education and places to learn. So really, that's what you do at school, that's what you do at work, is that you learn from each other. So hopefully they will be receptive to your argument. And again, I use the word argument, but I don't mean it has to be like a fight. I think try and keep your cool as much as possible and just bring it down, because I think when it starts to escalate and it starts to get quite fiery, then that's when it kind of takes a sour turn. But I think speaking up doesn't have to be this big standing in front of everyone and telling everyone to be quiet. It can just be a, hang on, I'm not quite sure I agree with that because of this, this and this. Or if someone's saying something you don't agree with, you could just be like, oh, have you considered this? And it's just about a gentle, almost nudging of someone in the right direction. You can't force an opinion on someone, but you can present your opinion fairly and be like, do with it what you will. And I think that is all we can do. And the more confident you are in it, the more calm you appear, and the more comfortable you are in what you're saying. Like if it's something you truly believe, then I think you have to say it, because you'll always regret it if you don't. This is a really good question, because when it comes to gender inequality, I obviously believe in it wholeheartedly, 100%. But in terms of what I choose to actually challenge in everyday life, it's very different. You can believe in so many things, but I feel like it is smart to choose like kind of one thing and go with it. So in terms of gender inequality, I am a big believer in opportunities in things such as careers and in pay. So like I said, in my industry, it's kind of rare that you'd have men and women doing the same job at the same publication. But I have friends who work in like the corporate world, and they are directly being paid less than their counterparts, and that to me is not acceptable. I have a friend who once told me that if he was hiring for a position in his corporate company, he wouldn't hire a woman. If a woman and a man came for the same job and they were both qualified the same, he wouldn't hire the woman because she might get pregnant one day. And that was one of those times where I didn't keep calm and I kind of lost it, because I was just so floored that someone I thought was a really fair, decent man would have said that to me. And so what I choose to challenge and what I choose to work towards is creating opportunities for women from, any background, no matter what. But I think that men often find it easier in the business world to speak up and ask for more pay, or to apply for a job way above their station, and then even if they don't get that, the companies recognise them, so they get a little promotion. And I've noticed that throughout my work and my friends' work. And so what I try and do on a personal level is, when I'm at work, I try and encourage, especially my younger colleagues, to speak up when they deserve a promotion, to speak up when they deserve recognition for their work, to apply for those jobs, to ask for more money. And it's something that I have trouble with myself. It's not always easy to say, well, I know so-and-so gets paid this much, so I should be paid the same. But I think the more of us that kind of help each other out on that, and the more support we give each other, the more likely we are to kind of rise up. So I choose to challenge gender inequality in the workplace 100%. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I hope I had something remotely useful to say. Keep looking after yourselves, and if there's ever anything that I can do, if you have any more questions, I'm sure Miss Worthington can pass along my email address, and feel free to contact me at any time. It's been lovely virtually speaking to you all, and hopefully one day I can see you guys in person. Bye.